Okay, so it is just 3 o'clock and I'd like to begin and keep your time valued. So I want to welcome everyone to our Live Well and Stay Healthy Wellness webinar series brought to you by the Family and Community Health Sciences Department of Rutgers Cooperative Extension. My name is Rachel Tansey and I am the FCHS Associate here in Monmouth County, and I will serve as your host today. I'm very excited about this presentation today. Eating for cancer prevention, certainly a topic we can all benefit from. But before we move on, if you could just progress to the next slide, please. I just wanted to go over a few of our webinar logistics. First, that this webinar is being recorded, and as participants, you are all muted with your videos turned off. Please post any questions you might have for the presenter in the chat or the Q&A box, and we will have time at the end to field those questions. Then in the next slide, I just want to quickly go over our cooperative extension structure for those of you who aren't familiar. Rutgers Cooperative Extension is an affirmative action equal opportunity employer and has a partnership with the Board of County Commissioners, Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, and the USDA's National Institute of Food and Agriculture. We have faculty and our staff in all 21 of our New Jersey counties, and RCE includes 3 departments, one of which is Agriculture and Natural Resources, which also includes our Marine Science Department. Then we have the 4-H Youth Development Department, and then our Department of Family and Community Health Sciences, or FCHS. So FCHS provides outreach in nutrition and wellness through New Jersey and beyond, topics related to chronic disease prevention, food safety, and overall wellness. We hope you'll visit our website for nutrition and wellness related resources and follow us on social media. So you can go down one more slide. That's basically our departments that as I was describing. Go ahead to the next slide. That's our affirmative action slide. And now I just want to introduce our presenter. So Cecilia Gomez is a community cancer control specialist with a background in nutrition and public health. She has extensive experience as a nutrition educator, working to promote healthy eating habits and prevent chronic diseases. She's passionate about empowering communities through education and awareness raising initiatives. So without further ado, I will hand things off to you.
Thank you, Rachel, and thank you everybody for being here. I'm really excited about today's topic. And just as a disclaimer, the information contained in this presentation is not a substitute for a medical consult. Please always speak with a physician for any concerns you may have. And before I go into today's presentation, I do have a little pre-test just to see what we already know. So I'll ask everybody to put their answers in the chat, and then we will do this at the end of the presentation as well. So true or false, there are 5 different food groups. True or false, you should select foods with 5 grams or more of fiber per serving. And true or false, walnuts are a great source of healthy fats and fiber. So I'll give everybody a moment to put that in the chat. And we will come back to this at the end of the presentation. So what I hope everybody will take away today is knowledge of the nutrients that play a role in promoting our health and learning about how foods work together in the context of our environment to maintain our health. We're going to get started with the basics. So there are 5 food groups. They are fruits, vegetables, grains, dairy, and protein. And you may have seen them together on this image called the My Plate. So the My Plate is a representation of what our plates should look like for all of our meals, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And we can see that half of the plate is made up of fruits and vegetables. And this is done on purpose. We really want to make sure that we're getting half of our plate to be fruits and vegetables whenever we're sitting down to a meal. We also have 1/4 of our plate made up of grains, and whenever possible, we want to choose whole grains, which we will talk in a little bit more detail about. And we also have a 1/4 reserved for protein, and protein can be an animal protein like chicken, or it can be a plant-based protein like legumes. We have a small section reserved for dairy, and dairy is it's optional. If you are lactose intolerant and you really cannot or do not like consuming dairy, there are other options. There are plant-based dairies like almond milk, soy milk, oat milk, and most of these have been fortified to still give you the calcium and the vitamin D that you would get from dairy. We can further break down food into macronutrients. So we have carbohydrates, we have protein, and we have fat. And these are the three macronutrients. And a macronutrient is just a fancy word for big nutrients. And these are the nutrients that your body needs to produce energy and maintain its structure. So they're extremely important, and they all have different functions and different reasons why they're so important. And just like we have macronutrients, we also have micronutrients, and micronutrients are smaller nutrients, and these are vitamins and minerals. We need a variety of vitamins and minerals in order for our body to function properly. Some vitamins and minerals help our blood clot, some help maintain our immune system, some build and maintain our bones. Some ensure proper nerve and muscle function and promote cognitive development. So really, they all have different functions, but they're all extremely important. We're going to start talking about carbohydrates, and carbohydrates they provide our body with glucose, and this is actually our body's preferred source of energy. It fuels your brain, your muscles, and your hormones. However, there are many different carbohydrate food choices, and our goal is to show you why it's important to choose healthier options of carbohydrates when possible. So in general, we want to choose foods or carbohydrates that have 5 grams or more of fiber per serving. None of these here have 5 grams of fiber or more. Most likely, they don't even have 1 or 2 grams of fiber. I'm not saying that you can never have, a donut or a cookie or a fried food once in a while, but most of the foods that we're eating throughout the day should have fiber. They should have the benefits that we get from whole grains, which are B vitamins, some healthy fats, and a little bit of protein as well. So these carbohydrates on the screen contain a lot of added sugar, more than we would ever find in nature, in a fruit or a vegetable. Food in its natural state does not contain the high levels of sugar that are in many of the foods that you see here. So these types of foods with lots of added sugar tend to spike your blood sugar levels. And then your pancreas almost starts to panic and releases a large amount of insulin to get this sugar out of your bloodstream and into your cells. And your body is always trying to maintain homeostasis whenever it can. So this is something that we really want to try and avoid when we can. Some blood sugar spikes are unavoidable. For example, our blood sugar actually spikes a little bit in times of exercise, and this is normal. This is because your muscles need that blood sugar. But blood sugar spikes from eating a lot of refined carbohydrates and added sugars are not something that we want to be enduring on a daily basis. And one way that we can kind of level out those blood sugar spikes is by eating enough fiber. And fun fact, fiber is actually going to feed the good bacteria in your gut as well. So you may have heard of the microbiome, and these are thousands of gut microbes that we have in our digestive system. And there's so much research coming out about the microbiome and how important it is to have a healthy microbiome. And so your microbiome's preferred food is fiber. Our digestive systems itself does not actually digest the fiber. It passes through our digestive system to the microbiome, where it is then fermented and broken down into short chain fatty acids they have a lot of benefits and have even been shown to slow the growth of cancer cells within the body. There are other benefits to fiber as well. We probably know that fiber is pretty popular for keeping people regular. It does that by increasing the bulk of your stool. So it adds volume to your stool so that it passes more easily throughout the digestive system. And that helps you to avoid constipation. It helps to control blood sugar, like we mentioned, and also maintain healthy cholesterol levels. And perhaps most interestingly, at least in the context of cancer prevention, is it binds and transports toxins out of the body. So any pesticides, herbicides, that you may have consumed throughout the day is going to get absorbed by fiber and passed out through a bowel movement. So you may be wondering, how much fiber do we need in a day? It's going to vary. Typically women is recommended to consume at least 25 grams of fiber per day. Men, somewhere between 30 to 38 grams per day. So as a rule of thumb, we say to aim for 30 grams. And most Americans are not getting this much. Maybe they get between 12 and 15 grams of fiber. And if you suspect that you're not getting enough fiber and you would like to start increasing your fiber content, it's recommended to do so very slowly because it can cause a lot of cramping. It can actually cause constipation, bloating, gas if you add too much fiber too quickly. So try to add just an additional 5 grams per week, and make sure that you're also drinking a lot of water and that you're exercising, because exercising can actually help you digest. And if that feels good and you haven't had any issues, you can add another 5 grams the next week. And so we know it's important to eat fruits and vegetables. And the reason why fruits and vegetables are so good for us is because of phytochemicals. And phytochemicals just means plant chemicals, and they give our body all of these different antioxidants, such as carotenoids, which are found in carrots, flavonoids, which you can find in onions, celery, and even dark chocolate, and allicin, which come from alliums like onion, garlic, chives, and scallions. And so the interesting thing about phytochemicals and antioxidants is that most different colors are associated with different antioxidants. So when we think of carrots, we think of that bright orange color, right? And that is actually the carotenoid. So one rule of thumb that you can go by is to eat the rainbow. Actually increase the colors of the different fruits and vegetables that you're eating. Maybe instead of just eating regular red potatoes, if you can find purple potatoes, or if you can find golden beets instead of the regular red beets, although all of these vegetables are important, we really want to stress the importance of a variety so that we can get a variety of antioxidants, and also so that we can have a variety of the healthy gut bugs, the microbiome, because just like people, the different gut bugs actually like different fruits and vegetables. So we want to increase that variety so that we have a great variety in our microbiome. And one tip about garlic, that smell that you associate with garlic is actually the allicin, and is a very potent antioxidant. It's been found to have a lot of benefits. And the way that you can preserve that allicin as best as you can is to chop your garlic, your fresh garlic, and then let it sit for 10 minutes, and that's going to let the allicin develop. And then you can add it to your cooking, and try to add it to your cooking a little bit later in the cooking process rather than sauteing it right in the beginning, because that tends to diminish the allicin content a bit. So cook it enough to get that very pungent taste, but so that it's still edible, of course. And so here's an example of how vegetables can really be so important. So we see this study done on breast cancer survivors showed that those who had 1 serving of cruciferous vegetables daily, cruciferous vegetables are typically your green leafy vegetables, broccoli, bok choy, or Brussels sprouts, or really any vegetable on this list. But those who had 1 serving of these cruciferous vegetables had a 13% lower risk from dying of cancer and those that opted to 2 servings had a 20% lower risk of dying from cancer. So that's just really amazing. And we're going to go through just a few more examples of some really wonderful fruits and veggie options. You may have heard that an apple a day keeps the doctor away, and there is some truth to that. There is some evidence that apples can reduce the risk of lung cancer for smokers. It can reduce the risk of breast cancer, and this is because it's packed with antioxidants. And I'll give you a tip. You really want to make sure that you're eating the skin of the apple because that's where a lot of the fiber is. So just make sure, you wash it well, but enjoy the skin. Blueberries are packed with antioxidants and fiber, and if I'm not mistaken, it is blueberry season here in New Jersey right now. So we have really wonderful options for fresh local blueberries. They're packed with vitamin C and vitamin K, and some research shows that it can decrease the risk of mouth, larynx, pharynx, lung, stomach, and colorectal cancers. Kale, which I also believe is in season, you've probably heard. It's a superfood, and it really is just full of so many antioxidants. It's full of carotenoids, which we mentioned earlier, found in carrots, but also kale, which enhance our body's own production of antioxidants to protect our cells from DNA damage when you're exposed to a toxic substance in the environment or within the food supply, again, those herbicides or pesticides. It's also associated with a reduced risk for colorectal cancer. And in addition to your leafy vegetables and your fruits, your beans are also extremely good for you. So any legume, any black bean, pinto bean, they're going to be packed with folate and fiber. And folate is a B vitamin that promotes tissue growth within your body and helps your cells to divide properly. And that's why it's always so highly recommended during pregnancy, but it's important at all stages of life. And like I mentioned, they're also full of fiber. They tend to have more fiber than any of your other plants. To put it into perspective, a cup of beans will usually have anywhere from 10 to 15 grams of fiber, whereas something like a cup of broccoli might have 4 to 5 grams. So if you're not used to eating beans, definitely, take it slowly and carefully so that you're not getting too much fiber that you're not used to yet. And now, of course, there are some things that we would like to avoid. So we encourage you to clean out the calorie-rich and processed foods. An example of this would be all of the different types of sugar-sweetened beverages on the market. Some of these, they're marketed to look like they're very healthy. They're marketed to look like they're full of vitamins or they're good for your energy. But truth is, you most likely don't need to be drinking these unless you are severely dehydrated or you're training for a marathon. Most of these just have a lot of added sugars in them. And even on the left, we have a yogurt, and yogurt is usually thought to be pretty healthy, pretty good for you. But we actually see that this is hiding a lot of added sugars. It has about 27 grams of sugar. And while yogurt usually will have some natural sugars in it, it really shouldn't exceed 10 grams. So 27 grams is a lot for some yogurt. You really want to try and choose plain yogurt. Always check for the added sugars. And then if you would like to sweeten it on your own, you can add some fruit or a little bit of honey, and it's going to be a little bit of a better option. So you may be wondering what the added sugar limit is. And ideally, it would be, as little as possible that you can get in a day. But the general recommendation is 36 grams for men and 25 grams for women. And you're always going to be able to find the grams of sugar on the nutrition facts label. So we see here under total carbohydrate, we have fiber, and then we have total sugars, and then under that we have added sugars. So what we want to be focusing on is added sugars, because these are not the naturally occurring sugars that we would get in fruits or vegetables. Naturally occurring sugars will usually come with fiber. They'll come with vitamins and minerals, so that it's not having too much of an impact on your body. Of course, if you are pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetic, you do have to be careful. But generally, we are focusing on the added sugars. So really try to keep your grams of sugar per day under 25 for women and 36 for men. And now there is some good news for coffee drinkers. There are actually some really interesting studies about coffee being able to decrease the risk of endometrial and liver cancers. And this is because coffee comes from a plant. It comes from a coffee bean. So it's full of those plant chemicals. However, we do want to be careful again of not adding any sugars or syrups or flavorings, and just, keeping it. If you like to use a little bit of milk, that's fine. But again, just not too much sugar. And the studies found that about 1 to 2 cups a day is the sweet spot. And if you don't drink coffee, you certainly don't need to start. Just because of this, you still get these antioxidants from fruits and vegetables. And if you enjoy tea, you can get them from tea as well. And now we're going to move on to protein. And so protein is extremely important. It makes up roughly 15% of our body weight. And the amount that you need to consume will depend on your height and weight, your activity level, your age even. We actually tend to need more protein as we age because it's a lot easier to lose muscle mass. So one of the main reasons that protein is so important is because it helps us to maintain and build muscle mass. So the recommendation of grams is different for everybody. I would like to say that a good rule of thumb is just to make sure you're having protein every time you eat. So whether you eat animal-based proteins or plant-based proteins, just make sure at every meal you have roughly about the size of the palm of your hand of a serving of protein on there. So whether it's beans or chicken or eggs, you really want to just make sure you're having protein at every meal, not only for your muscles, but also because protein helps to keep you full. It helps to stabilize your blood sugars, and both of these, they give us energy. They make us feel good throughout the day. And of course, some types of protein are better than others. A type of protein we would like to avoid whenever possible is processed red meat. So processed red meat is classified as a carcinogen, meaning it is known to cause cancer. So this includes meats such as sausage, hot dogs, deli meats like ham, turkey, salami, bologna, and pepperoni. These tend to have a lot of salt, and excess salt consumption is associated with stomach cancer. And they're also found to have nitrates. And these preservatives nitrates can be harmful to our health. They can harm our microbiome, which is extremely important. So really just avoiding this whenever possible. Ideally, it's recommended to completely eliminate it from your diet, but once in a while, everything in moderation, but definitely focus on limiting this as much as possible. There's actually research that shows that if you were to eat 50 grams of some type of processed meat every day, it could actually increase your risk of colorectal cancer by 18%. And 50 grams is equal to about 1 hot dog or 2 slices of deli meat. So definitely not something we want to be eating every day. And now red meat, while not a carcinogen, it has been found beneficial to limit your intake of red meat. So the recommended intake per week is no more than 3 4 to 6 ounce servings, or 18 ounces in total. So again, if you remember, I mentioned using the palm of your hand for a guide. This can apply to red meat. Usually that's going to give you about a 3 to 4 ounce servings if you can compare it to the palm of your hand. And it's not considered a carcinogen. However, it does tend to have a lot of saturated fat, which if you're already worried about heart problems, it's good to have that in mind, that limitation. And now we're going to move on to our last macronutrient, which is fat. And fat is extremely important, and there's a lot of benefits that come from getting healthy fats that come from plant-based sources like olive oil, avocados, We also can get some from fatty fish such as salmon, nuts, and seeds. Omega-3s in particular are extremely important for our health. Omega-3 fatty acids can be found again in nuts and seeds like walnuts and flax seeds, and they're also found in fish like salmon, mackerel. Even canned fish can be a good option because it's affordable, but you just have to be wary of fish such as tuna because they do tend to have some mercury in it. So it's not something that you want to eat more than 1 or 2 times a week if you are going for tuna. If you decide to take a supplement, we definitely recommend talking to your doctor because there is a good chance that you can just get enough omega-3 fats from your diet and you may not need to take a supplement. But it's omega-3 fats, they're wonderful for our brain health, for our immune function, and they can help to reduce inflammation in our body. So you want to eat a variety of tree nuts. It's really up to you, but again, variety is really a great method to use. Just trying to get as many different fruits, vegetables, nuts, legumes. So all of these are going to have, different benefits for you. We do recommend to be careful with Brazil nuts because Brazil nuts actually can have up to 100% of your selenium needs per day. And we really don't want to go over 100% for any micronutrient. But other than that, it's pretty safe to have a handful of nuts every day. And there have actually been found to be a lot of benefits with eating nuts frequently. And of course, just like our other macronutrients, some fats are much better than others. So we want to try and avoid trans fats at all times. Trans fats have been found to be very, very bad for us. It's actually illegal for trans fat to be added to our food now. However, it can still show up in very small amounts in some foods. So usually it's found in shelf-stable foods such as we have Twinkie as an example here, fried foods, sometimes frozen foods like frozen pizzas. So really what you want to look for is partially hydrogenated. That is the key word. A partially hydrogenated oil can signify that there may still be up to 0.5 grams of trans fats in this product. And trans fat, they have been linked with a lot of issues. They've been linked to heart disease and cancer. So really just being aware of the type of foods that trans fat can be found in and always looking at the ingredients list and looking for that partially hydrogenated oil. And we're going to just touch on alcohol and cancer. So alcohol is a carcinogen. It's known to cause cancer, and the more you drink, the higher your risk is. And it doesn't only cause liver cancer like one might think. Can also increase the risk of oral, esophageal, breast, colon, and rectal cancers. So really anywhere that it's passing through our body, it can cause that cancer. And the risk also increases if somebody is using tobacco as well, smoking or vaping. So it's recommended to drink no more than 1 drink a day per women and 2 drinks a day per men. If you can drink less than this, that's even better. And it's not recommended to not drink it all during the week and bank them all to use on the weekends. That's considered binge drinking, and it definitely has some negative effects. And of course, there are other lifestyle factors in addition to nutrition that can reduce certain cancer risks, and exercise is one of them. Exercise has so many benefits. It's great for your mental health as well. But in terms of cancer risk reduction, it lowers sex hormones like estrogen and growth factors that have been directly linked to colon and breast cancers. It can help lower inflammation. It can help speed up your digestion and help maintain healthy digestion so that your gastrointestinal system is exposed to fewer carcinogens. And it just helps you feel good, right? It gives you that energy, that feel good feeling. The general recommendation is 150 minutes per week of some sort of exercise that gets your heart rate up. So it can be power walking or jogging, a dance class like Zumba. And then on top of that, you also want to do strength training. So lifting weights or doing body weight movements. There are a lot of great videos on YouTube that you can watch for free, and they'll lead you through body weight exercises or chair exercises, because we really want to maintain as much muscle mass as we can. And luckily here in New Jersey, we have a lot of wonderful resources. We have NJCED, or the New Jersey Cancer Education and Early Detection Program. It's a program run by the New Jersey Department of Health in collaboration with local agencies and healthcare systems. And they provide education and outreach within all across New Jersey about different types of cancer. The program also provides free screenings to those for different types of cancers, to those that are unemployed, underinsured, or uninsured, or they're facing some sort of barrier. They can help them get that cancer screening. And at the Cancer Institute, we actually have patient navigation, and patient navigation works one-on-one with people to help them get to cancer screenings. So we have a variety of different languages that we speak, or we can have a translation service. We work one-on-one again with underinsured or uninsured people, even somebody who is undocumented, we can help them as well. So in summary, we would like you to eat a fiber-rich diet, aim for 25 grams for women, 30 grams for men, exercise, and perhaps most importantly, get screened. Reach out to the resources here in New Jersey if you need, and there's help out there. We are going to save questions for the end, and I'm just going to ask everybody the same questions that we had at the beginning of the program, and I'll ask you to, again, just put it in the chat. True or false, there are 5 different food groups. True or false, you should select foods with 5 grams or more of fiber per serving. And true or false, walnuts are a great source of healthy fats and fiber. So I'll give everybody a moment. And we also have an anonymous survey. If you can complete this when you have time, it's just for us to hear your feedback. Your feedback is extremely important to us so that we can continue to better this program and continue to serve people across New Jersey.